Shalom, shalom. Corey Phillips here with Straightway Kansas City of the Straightway Ministry with Pastor Charles Dowell. And, I just wanted to come on this morning, to have a brief moment with you guys to share a little information about, my thoughts pertaining to biblical marriage and just, express to you guys on, how I agree with Pastor Charles Dowell with what he has brought out pertaining to biblical marriage. And it was just an awesome opportunity to hear the interview with Mother Gina pertaining to biblical marriage. And it shows that Pastor Charles Dowell has been in line with the things that he has received in looking at what's in the laws of the Most High Yah. Now, first of all, before we dive over into my thoughts and what I want to share pertaining to what it is, I want us to keep this in mind, that we know that the laws of the Most High Yah are holy. And so if he has given law pertaining to more than one wife, then how can we call that thing unrighteous? Or how can we presume that Yah doesn't want something that he has given the law pertaining to? And nowhere in there has Yah deemed it as sin. And so I agree, like I said before, with Pastor Charles Dowell and what he has brought out. Well, what this whole video is about is, one, to warn you about those who are wolves in sheep's clothing. Mr. Roberts of Teshua Community is a wolf in sheep's clothing. He sound, like he's this great Hebrew scholar, but in all actuality, I saw that this man had a disconnect in the most simple and basic principles of what it is that Yah is doing in restoration and bringing his people back to him. We know that anybody who comes into this way of truth and finds that Yah is restoring us, we know that Yah is putting his laws on our inward parts. He's putting his laws in our minds and in our hearts. Why? So that we can become an obedient people to him. Aside from the law, you don't know what sin is. And so we know that sin is transgression of the law. And so what transgression is it that we can find in the law pertaining to biblical marriage? Well, we know biblical marriage is biblical monogamy, meaning that marriage between man and woman, not man and man, not woman and woman. We also know that it is polygyny, not polygamy. Polygamy is where a man can have multiple wives or a wife can have multiple husbands. Y'all didn't deem that. But polygyny, biblical polygyny, is how the 12 tribes got started. And so what I want to do to you, I want to read something to you guys. I'm going to read a verse out of Exodus 21, and I'm going to read a verse out of Deuteronomy chapter 25, verse 5. All right? And let's start with Deuteronomy 25, 5. And it says, if brethren dwell together, and one of them die, and have no child, the wife of the dead shall not marry without unto a stranger. Her husband's brother shall go into her. Now let's pause right there. Go into her is the act of him taking on his brother's wife. All right? Now, the Bible doesn't give any specification in, well, if he has a wife, or he can't go into her if he has a wife. But it specifies that he must take her on. Her husband's brother shall go into her and take her to him to wife, and to perform the duty of a husband's brother unto her. So that in that instance, we know that Yah has given this holy law. Whether this man was married or not, it would be his duty to raise up righteous seed because they are in the covenant of the Most High Yah to raise up righteous seed unto his brother. Now, that's an instance where it is law. Let's read Exodus chapter 21, verse 7. And this is pertaining to laws concerning slaves. Now, this would be another instance where a woman would come into a man's house. And let's look at it. Let's read it. And then let's express a few brief points so I can get on off here. I just wanted to come, like I said this morning, to share, my gratitude for Pastor Dowell and what he has done in bringing biblical marriage to the forefront, where we are hiding in America behind the make-believe life that the Gentiles have given us. All right. This is Exodus 21, verse 7. When a man sells his daughter as a slave, she shall not go out as the male slaves do. If she does not please her master, who designated her for himself, then he shall let her be redeemed. He shall have no right to sell her to a foreign people, since he has dealt unfairly with her. If he designate her for his son, he shall deal with her as a daughter. If he takes another wife to himself, he shall not diminish the food, the clothing, or marital rights of the first wife. And if he does not do these three things for her, she shall go out without debt and without payment of money. Now, so we see that if a man sells his daughter, that man who buys her can wife her unto himself. He can get rid of her, but he can't get rid of her and turn her over to a foreign nation. He can designate her to his son, and then she would be as a daughter-in-law to him. Or if he did take her on as a wife, he can't diminish the rights of his first wife. His first wife. That's law. We know that Yah law is holy. Who is among us that's able to judge the law? Who among us is able to deem the law as unholy? Yah didn't suffer anything. Yah knew what he wanted to do and what he wanted to say when he gave the law to Moses to give to the holy people of the holy nation Israel. So we can't abide by anything that anybody who is falsely speaking against the laws of the Most High Yah. All we want to know if we sin or not against the Most High Yah. If we do righteous, we do the law. So how can we call in this manner men who had been in this situation where they had to take on their brother's wife, though they had a wife? What do we call men in this situation who have brought in a female slave, and they designated her as a wife already, even though he had a wife already? So how could we deem them as wicked? And there's nowhere in here where the law, the statutes, the commandments, the judgment shows us nowhere that this was wicked. Shows us that it is sin. Sinners will have their portion in the lake of fire. Sinners. Sinners. This is not sin. I agree with biblical marriage. I agree with biblical polygyny, meaning a man being able to take on multiple wives or wives and concubines, whatever it may be, for that man to have these women to come help him meet whatever he is to fulfill, like these situations we saw here. I'm in agreement with biblical monogamy. Monogamy. All right. I thank Pastor Charles Dowell for what he has done. I thank him for, having the courage and the strength to stand in a world, in a society where people are deeming good as evil and deeming evil as good. All right? They're deeming good as evil, and they're deeming evil as good. So I made sure I said that so you can understand that if we're to know what sin is, it's already spelled out for us. It's already wrote out. It's already wrote out. And we don't have a problem with what the Most High has already deemed for us. You know, I'm in complete agreement. You know, again, I want to thank Mother Gina for coming forth with expressing, you know, the great aspects of what polygyny is. You know, I myself, you know, whatever the Most High desires for me as a righteous man, whatever he desires for me to do, you know, in terms of getting things done to increase the kingdom, then I myself, you know, barring whatever my position is, whatever I need to do to get those things done, I will do, because I understand that I am a male. I am a man who is to go forth and to be a repairer of the breach, to restore the foundation of many generations. And so, you know, coming into this way as a Hebrew Israelite, I know that it's said in the book that although things are lawful, not all things are expedient, but that pertains to being in position where you are spiritually sound, where you have done many things to increase what we are commanded to do in being one who is restoring this breach that Israel had experienced. And in that, we be patient in how we go about. We be patient and not just moving about taking on all these daughters of Zion just because it's written. To me, that's what not all things being, you know, lawful, but not all things are expedient is, when we be patient and we look at what's brought forth, so we have full understanding on what this is and what it's about. I'm in agreement if anybody can bring out to show that it's sin, to show that there's something that men should not abide in. Yah is the same in all generations. He's, you know, the words say, you know, the Hamashiach is the same yesterday, today, and forever. Yah says in his word that I am Yahweh, your Elohim. I change not. So therefore, ye sons of Yaakov are not consumed. And so in that, I know that he is the same. I know that he has not given us nothing in previous generations, and then in this generation, he deemed it as sin. That's not Yah. And so I want you all to beware of these wolves that go around looking to devour whom they can devour. And that's all you weak-minded people who give heed to seducing doctrines and the traditions of men. And what he's doing down there at Teshuvah community, I advise you not to give heed to that foolishness where it's going to cause men to stumble and not restore what Yah wants restored. Because we in restoration. We can't deem anything that we won't restore. We got to restore what Yah has already brought forth in his righteous and goodly heritage, in which the nations have scattered his goodly heritage. And so we want to bring back those things in which is going to cause us to be able to look out and know that amongst ourselves we have done what's right by Yah. Pastor Dowell, you keep doing what you're doing, my pastor. We love, you know, what you do in standing up in courage and in strength to bring forth men. You know, there's many things I have said in the past about myself and seeing that, you know, my father wasn't around. I met him when I was 19 years old. And so he had no effect on how I grew up. The streets and the people around me in the neighborhood and the things I saw from men that wasn't quite right was what shaped me early on until the Most High Yah has brought me into his way to walk after his path. And now I see the error of my ways, and I am one who is willing to go for it. No matter what it is, it don't matter what nobody else think, nobody else's wife think. It don't matter what my wife think. My wife is willing to follow me wherever I go, as long it is down the path of righteousness. And so in that, you know, we're going to do what we got to do to restore righteousness to the King, because he is the one who we glorify. He is the one who we desire, we hope for, and we look for that blessed and hope day of Yahshua HaMashiach. You all be blessed out there on the internet. I am Pastor Corey with Straightway Kansas City of the Straightway Ministry. And you all have a mighty, mighty day in the Most High Yah. Shalom, shalom.